Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do a short demo on how to use Excel to make plots and trend lines. The intent for this is that you can replicate it for both this lab, for lab 2, and also for future labs, because being able to use Excel is something that's going to keep coming up. So what I'm going to do is use a set of sample data, like I'm doing it from your data set, and I'm going to make a plot and show you how to add all of the necessary accoutrements that you need to get full points on a plot. So we have Excel here. I'm going to first put a small title for this data set, just so that I know what it is. So volumetric, that's a volley. Volumetric pipette. You don't need to do this. It's just a good way to make sure you know what each set of data you do is. So for example, down here, I could write graduated cylinder, and then put all my graduated cylinder data right below it, and I know what each one is. The other thing I'm going to do that you don't need to do is type in the axes I care about, total volume and total mass. One thing that's important for you to note is I put volume in the first column and mass in the second column. That's because Excel, by default, you can change it, but by default, will do the first column on your X and the second column on your Y. In this lab, your X axis is your volume and your mass is your Y axis. So for volumetric pipette, you should have something like this. And the reason I don't do 30.00, even though you should have, is because it will automatically remove those. You can again change this, but there's no real point for Excel. Just note that there are actually 4 sig figs there, not 2. Well, 1. And then for the masses, let's put the masses in 9.9268, 19.9650, and 29.7533. Great. Those are my data points. Okay, now let's see how to make a plot. So we're going to highlight the data we want. We go to Insert, and then here are our charts over here. You want a scatter plot, not a line graph. I can't think of any times you're going to use a line graph in this entire lab. So always, always, always use a scatter plot. And I'm going to choose the one that doesn't connect the dots. We're going to add the line that connects the dots in a bit. So I have a scatter plot. Technically it has a chart title, although the title is currently chart title. The first thing I'm going to do is add the X and Y axes. So here, once you have this clicked, you'll see chart tools appear in the top, and you can add chart elements on the left side. I'm going to add a horizontal axis, and I'm going to add a vertical axis. Right now they're just labeled as axes titles, but I'm going to write in total volume, and because we are good scientists, we're going to put in the units. Never forget the units where applicable. Sometimes these are unitless, but in most of your labs, not mass, total mass, most of them are going to have units. And then chart title, everyone struggles with this. What is a descriptive chart title? In this case, I'm going to say determination of the density of water using a, nope, we're not using graduated cylinder, we're using a volumetric pipette. So the reason this is a descriptive title is it tells you what you're doing with this graph and how you did it. So we determined the density of water. How? With a volumetric pipette. Okay, now we have to add a trend line. To add a trend line, you have to select any of the data points. It doesn't matter which. Right-click on one of them and click Add Trend Line from the new menu. Next, this trend line's great. It connects all our dots, but it doesn't tell us anything. To have it tell us things, we need to format the trend line. So you can see that once I made the trend line, a list of options appeared on the right side here. We're going to select display equation on the chart and display the R-squared value. The R-squared value just tells you how linear the data is. You don't actually use it for any sort of computations. The thing we're going to use here is the slope. So our Y is our mass, X is volume, the density is our slope, which we can see here is 0.9913. And that's how you make a plot in Excel. I just want to point out one common pitfall. So I'm going to just move this down because it's not important. What if you input it the exact same order that is in your lab manual, which means your volume here and your mass here? How does that look? Well, we insert, we make a scatter plot. For the sake of time, I'm not going to add all the necessary accoutrements. We add a trend line, and the way I know this is incorrect, whoops, always get dr squared. Where'd you go, friend? Oh, I'm formatting the label, that's why. There we go. And the way I know that this is wrong is I have a density greater than 1. You almost should never have a density greater than 1, and it's because I flipped the axes here. It is plotting mass on the x and volume on the y. Well, I hope you found this useful. I'm not going to go into the other things that Excel will use in this video, maybe in another one. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.